Welcome to Digital Asset News. We hit top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, great stories, great things going on. First of all, the market is up and that's great, but there's some other stories out there that make us wonder. First one is from the Daily Hodl, and it talks about how Bitcoin Jesus Roger Ver says Bitcoin is basically a pyramid scheme, which is a stark contrast from what he used to say back 2011-2012 as far as Bitcoin was the greatest thing of all time. Also, Anthony Pompliano puts out a tweet just a couple hours ago which said that rumors are circulating the Fed is going to announce to digitalize the dollar this week. Now that is big news. And lastly, we take a look at a feel-good story. KimDotcom says crypto's tiny 2% community needs to stop the bickering and fighting, and I could not agree more. All right, before we get going, let's do what we always do. Talk about the scam of the day. So we are on a roll so far. We're 1 for 1 from the initial scam video that we took a look at on January 14th. Today is January 13th, sorry. Today is January 15th, 2020. And we're taking a look here at, we saw this scam, I reported it, you all did your job, I appreciate it, and you all reported this to YouTube, gave it a downvote, and said it was a scam, and within, I think, 12 hours, it was gone. So great job, everybody. Now, I've seen in the comment section people say that they continuously click on the button to report these types of scams. They don't go away. And I've been getting bombarded with people telling me their stories as far as how they've gotten scammed and all the different problems that go along with that. So this is why we're doing the scam of the day. Because it's okay if I do it, if I report it and we talk about it and I downvote it and report it to YouTube. But then if you do it, that's 2. And then before you know it, I put a video out and now there's 3 and maybe 10, then 100, then 1,000, then 10,000, then 20,000. Can you imagine getting 20,000 people to talk about how one video is a scam and take it down just like that? That's why we do this, because I am sick and tired of people telling me that they lost. One guy said, or guy or gal said they lost a quarter Bitcoin. Another person lost 5,000 XRP. Another person lost 2 Ethereum. And it just goes on and on and on. And before you get all high and mighty and talk about how, well, that's so stupid, how can anybody fall for those types of scams? It's because some people are new, some people are gullible, some people get into it. And even me, like when I look at these things, I'm like, hold on, wait. This looks like it's from the Ripple Foundation, or this looks like it's from a prominent YouTuber or somebody on Twitter. And it's kind of hard to differentiate because they hijack everything and they make it look legit. So I've been in this space for 3 years now, and even sometimes I'm like, wait, what? So that's why we do these things. All right, let's take a look. I love this part. I love this part because I'd like to see if this actually gets taken down. Yesterday when I clicked on this, it was gone. Actually, you know what? Let me see if it's still gone. That'd be interesting. Awesome, that one's gone as well it should be. Now, this is the one from yesterday. Let's take a look and see if this one's gone. Oh, awesome. So everybody, great job. So we're 2 for 2. So let's take a look at a scam, find it, talk about it, and report it and get it out of here before some of our people who are in this community get scammed. So first thing we do, let's take a look at, how about this? Let's do something different. Ethereum live stream. Let's try that. See if we got anything. Yeah, here we go. You can always tell it's a scam from this type of nonsense. Ethereum official, live now, new. And it just looks like a scam already. I could be wrong, but let's find out. Okay, first of all, this all looks good, right? There's Vitalik Buterin. He is the founder of Ethereum, talking to some guy with some great looking glasses, good for him. And we're taking a look here and we're looking at, okay, first of all, there's 2 things we're always looking at. CG, we're looking to see if there's any comments, and you can't see any comments. And the reason why they turn off the comments is because people will say, this is a scam, this is a scam, this is a scam. So they turn off the comment section. The next part is the giveaway. So look for those 2 things. If there is no comments, that's a red flag. Also, the G for CG is giveaway. Are they doing giveaways? And it looks something always like this nonsense. Send us 0.1 Bitcoin, we'll give you half a Bitcoin back. Send us half a Bitcoin, you get 2.5 Bitcoin back. You are not going to get anything back. Nobody gives you more for what you put in less. Let me say that again. Nobody is going to give you more than what you put in. There is nobody out there who is going to send you more money for doing absolutely nothing. So get that out of your head right now. If you see this right here, it is a total scam. So you have to do these things, which we're going to do right now. Let's get rid of this nonsense. So downvote, bam. And then one more thing that I want to make mention here is this Ethereum official that has 306,000 subscribers. You're like, well, how the hell do they do that? I'm going to tell you how they do that. There's two ways. First of all, they go to the dark web. They can buy subscribers, they can buy channels, and it could cost them a couple $1,000s, right? And for that couple of $1,000 investment, they can make it look official, really official, right? Because I'm looking at this, I'm like, wow, 306,000, they must be good, because we're all hardwired to do that type of nonsense. Second way is that they will hack an account. They will hack a YouTuber, and I read this in another section. They will hack a YouTuber's account who put a lot of time and effort. They will take over their account. They'll wipe out all their videos. They will lock out that YouTuber who put all that time and energy into it from their own account, and they will take it over just like a virus, and then they will put this nonsense on there, and it looks like a legit thing. So remember, CG, if there's no comments, red flag. If there's a giveaway, red flag. So watch for those two things. So we're going to downvote, we're going to report, and we're going to say spam or misleading, and choose one. Scams or fraud. Next. And report. And that's it. And then we're going to take the actual, let's take the link of the scam. I'm going to put it right here for everybody. And I'm going to put the title so no one. Okay. Date found January 15th, 2020. And date removed. The other one, great job, everybody. I'm just going to say 115. It might have been earlier, I'm not for sure. And then what you're going to do is in the description below, it's going to be a link to this Google spreadsheet. And in the spreadsheet, you're going to see the scam of the day. Click on the third one there, and then just downvote and send in the report it as a scam. So if we can do that, I'm sure we can get one more out of here. And later, as time moves on, maybe we're going to do 2 a day, because we can't keep having this. If we want to have cryptocurrency digital assets adopted faster, we can't have this many scams in the space. We have to police ourselves, because God knows that YouTube is doing a poor job of it. All right, let's go on to today's stories. Bitcoin Jesus Roger Ver says Bitcoin is basically a pyramid scheme. This was interesting. So this was from an interview with Block TV. Roger Ver explains why he thinks Bitcoin is going down the tubes, essentially. And this is what he says. The biggest argument I hear from the Bitcoin people is like, buy this and hold it and don't do anything with it, and the price will go up and you can sell it for more later. Whereas with Bitcoin Cash and many of these other altcoins out there, I hear them saying this is more useful than PayPal. This is more useful than your Bank of America account. This is more useful than your credit card. Try this because you can save 25%. Okay. They're out there telling people this solves real problems for you in your real life. It makes your life easier if you use cryptocurrencies in your life. That's what's going to drive the next billion people. Not the promise of just to hold it and do nothing, and hopefully you'll have more money later. Because if you do something like that, that's just basically a pyramid scheme. And that's, to me, not interesting. I want to build useful tools and make people's lives better, so they have options that are even better than PayPal or Visa or Bank of America. So when I saw this, I thought to myself, well, what exactly is a pyramid scheme? Because I hear that about every single cryptocurrency out there. So let's take a look. Pyramid scheme is a form of investment, illegal in the US and everywhere, in which each paying participant recruits 2 further participants, with returns being given to early participants using money contributed by later ones. So basically, you have to buy an asset, then you recruit somebody and go, hey, this is awesome. You got to buy it. And then you just wait for them to come in, then you sell out. Because you're like, sucker, got you. That's essentially it. But I thought about it and I was like, well, really it comes down to every type of commodity that's out there. If you buy something and you just hold on to it, the hope is that, someone will buy it later. If they don't, then you could say, well, this is a pyramid scheme. Well, maybe not. I mean, maybe just had no value. So, I mean, you could say that for gold or silver or diamonds. I mean, look, if you bought, let's say for tomorrow, right? Peter Schiff goes, you got to buy gold. You got to buy gold. And everybody buys gold. And then all of a sudden, the value goes to zero. Not that that's going to happen. I doubt it very much, but let's say it does. Is that a pyramid scheme? Because really what they did was they just recruited you to buy gold, and then all of a sudden the value went to nothing. That sounds like what it is. I mean, think about stocks too. If you could go, hey, buy this penny stock, it's awesome, buy 1,000. And you go in there and you get it, and the value goes to zero. Then is that a pyramid scheme? So, I mean, think of all these different things. Like, if you did go in there, let's say that, here's another example. Let's say you go in there and you buy Dogecoin, right? I like Dogecoin. I mean, whatever. And Dogecoin tomorrow goes like way super high. Everybody's happy. Everybody's good. Everybody's like fantastic. Then people who said, well, Dogecoin is a scam and it's a pyramid scheme. It's not. It's got value. So it really just comes down to is, does this item have value? Does this commodity have value? And we go from there. So if you take a look at Roger Ver's comments, I don't think it's a pyramid scheme per se. I can see why he said it. I mean, look, Roger Ver's been in the space a long time, and I give him respect because he is one of those guys that did a heck of a lot for the whole entire community in the beginning. He said, hey, look, Bitcoin's awesome. He went everywhere and did a lot of work for it. So great for him. He now split off and did Bitcoin Cash. Does that mean he's an awful person? I don't think so. I just think that's what he believes. And that's that. Now I'm gonna get a lot of heat in the comment section, but that's just what I believe, right? If you have a belief and you think, look, I think Bitcoin is not for a store of value. I think it's for transactions, and that's why I want to use Bitcoin Cash. Okay, that's your belief. And then other people are like, well, what about the Lightning Network and these side chains and whatever else? Really? Are they that awesome? Because everywhere I look, it's all about Bitcoin being a store of value. And we're gonna talk about that a little later. So that's what he says. I don't personally believe that it's a pyramid scheme. I don't believe that Bitcoin Cash is going to do that great, but I could be wrong. It could be awesome. Look, I mean, Bitcoin Satoshi's vision is up like 150% just because of a tweet from some guy who knows a guy who knows Craig Wright. I mean, we'll see what happens with that. If you're not aware, I'm not going to go into it. It's an interesting story. We'll see if Craig Wright produces those keys. That's all I got to say. All right. Moving on to the last part here, the entrepreneur and CEO of Bitcoin.com says he thinks people need economic reasons to begin using cryptocurrency, and pure speculation is not enough to drive adoption. And he's right. It's not enough. You can't just speculate. It has to have utility. It has to be used. It has to have a purpose. So the mantra these days is, look, Bitcoin isn't for transactions. It's too valuable. It's like, using gold for transactions. It's just too valuable. It's a store of value. So I thought to myself, is it really a store of value? So I found this great article. This was a couple months ago from Cointelegraph, and it asked a bunch of experts, economic experts, people in blockchain. They asked them, is Bitcoin a store of value? This is from, when is this from? July 29, 2019. So here's what he said. This is Jonathan Reichenthal, CEO of Human Future, professor at UC Berkeley, former chief information office for the city of Palo Alto, Silicon Valley. So he says, look, diamonds are abundant, and so they really are not of any value. But if you go to a store and you buy a diamond, it's expensive, right? And the way in which it retains value is because of scarcity. It's supposed to be scarce. It looks beautiful, it's a particular shape, whatever. And one particular big diamond company, I believe, gathered up a lot of diamonds and dumped them in the sea to keep the price high. I don't know about that, but I can tell you this. There's a lot of different articles and different information out there that talks about De Beers and those types of places. They actually store values and hoard them to create a artificial scarcity, which drives the price up. Great, whatever. So is it a store of value in this case? Sure. The big question in crypto is, can we enter a phase where it's stable? That's a key point in this whole article. So, until such a time when it's stable over a long period of time and is recognized by the largest amount of organization and governments, I think it won't be able to be any gold or a stable asset class. That's one opinion. Here's Changpeng Zhao, CEO of Binance. He says Bitcoin is not gold. Gold is heavy, hard to carry around. It's true. Here's Tone Vase. Bitcoin might be the greatest store of value in the history of the world. Yep, it's volatile, as it's only been around for about 7 years. Useful for about 7 years, he says, but its unconfiscatability property is unmatched. This is true store of value, as gold is confiscatable and all their assets even easier. So that's right too. If you're in Venezuela, anything that you own can be confiscated. Your money can be confiscated. Your property can be confiscated. It's a socialism, communism. I think it's socialism country. So in this case, he is totally correct, and Bitcoin is unconfiscatable, right? And here we have Susan Oh, CEO of Mooker.ai and board member of Blockchain for Impact at the United Nations General Assembly. She states, until we stop valuing the short-term gain of trading on the volatility, it is a poor store of value and not a currency. It's an excellent technology that provides a trustless system, true, without a single point of failure, true. It is a technology with a philosophy of transparency, decentralization, and democratization of value, ideally. And those are all true things. I mean, look, it comes down to, can it be stable? And last up, this is from Vinny Lingham, CEO of Civic. He says, I've always maintained that Satoshi originally intended Bitcoin to be used for payments, not a store of value. And if you read the white paper, I have to agree. I believe it was used for payments, should be used for payments, not a store of value. That said, he left Bitcoin, so the community is now in control, for better or worse. For Bitcoin to be a reliable medium of exchange or a currency, it needs to be stable and have low volatility. In other words, people need to accept and hold Bitcoins because they are trusted and will not fluctuate in value. Ultimately, to become a currency, it's about network effect and demand for commodity because of its supply of 21 million units only. Look, here's my conclusion. If you're in a country, socialism country, and everything is collapsing around you, and you need a store of value, and you can't get your hands on gold or precious metals, then yeah, Bitcoin is a great example. That's happened in Iran, it's happening in Venezuela, it's happening around other countries. The problem is that the store of value argument, it makes sense. The problem is that if you put it in, let's say you are in America, and you're like, I want to put it in the store of value. If you put it into Bitcoin, and it does a flash crash from 8,000 to 4,000. And is that unrealistic? No, because it's happened before. It's happened multiple times before. So if you're saying that Bitcoin's a store of value for like somebody in a first world country, I don't think so. I don't believe that. If it's in a third world country where you are escaping the government and the oppression that is going on, then sure, I think it's better than keeping your money into petros or something crazy like that. So yes, but for it to be accepted on a global scale, it's got to be a little more stable, and it has to do a little bit more as far as stability, and that's what I believe. And go ahead and put your comments below. Always interesting to hear what you got to say. Next story. This one is huge. Anthony Pompliano, he's been featured on CNBC. He's got his own podcast, Off the Chain. This just happened about, I guess 6 hours ago. So he says, rumors are circulating that the Fed is going to announce an effort to digitize the dollar this week. That is huge. This would be similar to China's effort to digitalize the yuan. Whether the rumor is true or not, the Fed should absolutely digitize the dollar. Here's why. And this is what he talks about in this video. I'm going to play this, and I'm going to play another one. But do you see what's happening? I talked about this in other videos. With China, a global power, digitizing a currency, it is going to force the hand of all other countries around the world because they have to keep up. If America doesn't do this, if Spain doesn't do this, France doesn't do this, European Union doesn't do this, they're all going to be left behind. And that's why you can see these CBDCs, these central bank digital coins, coming around the bend fast and furious, and I see it happening, and it only makes sense. Let's take a listen.
I will say to you, though, we will reach a point where the US dollar will become digital. Other global currencies will be digital. How then could Bitcoin be a store of value?
Yeah, look, if I'm the United States government sitting in from a rational seat, I think that they should tokenize the dollar immediately, right? If you look at China, they're tokenizing their currency. There's other countries that will follow. What's going to happen is there's not going to be a competition between digital and non-digital currencies. Every currency will be digital. What we're going to have is a competition of monetary policy. And if all of a sudden, let's say China has a digital yuan and we don't have a digital currency, it will be much more accessible for people to buy the Chinese yuan in other parts of the world than the US dollar. And so you might see higher levels of adoption of the Chinese yuan than the US dollar. So if we can tokenize or digitize the dollar fast and drive that adoption globally, we've got a chance to keep that as the global reserve currency.
But
now,
to Joe's point, why would you own Bitcoin if you could own the US dollar?
I ultimately believe that people are going to opt for something that is not manipulatable, is not seizable, is not censorable,
not
so they're going to
not debaseable,
not debaseable, etc. And so I think people are going to continue slow at first, but over time, more and more people will choose a currency that a government does not control.
It's a good point. I see it all. The thing that I don't, I in my mind, I think to myself, well, if you have a central bank like the Federal Reserve or the People's Bank of China or the European whatever central bank they have, how do those two blockchains talk? How do they communicate? Is there some type of bridge currency that we need? I just, because it's not decentralized like Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrencies out there. So how do those two blockchains communicate? I mean, I have my answer. I think there's a digital asset out there that can do that, but let's see what you have to say. I don't think you can just, go across each other. I don't think that America will trust China to develop a certain asset to do that. And I know China won't allow anybody else to do that outside of their country because they're communist and they like to control everything. So you're going to need something outside of all these countries, probably something in the private sector. We will see. But there was that, and there was this one other interesting thing about central bank digital coin. This was brought up by Brad Garlinghouse. He's the CEO of Ripple, and he's talking to a bunch of bankers, central bankers, commercial bankers at the Economic Club of New York. This is in 2019, and this is what he talks about as far as like digitizing the dollar.
I'm glad you brought up the dollar again because I want to transition, particularly for this audience of the Economic Club of New York, China and other countries, but specifically China. China has completed a prototype, I don't know if you all know this, a prototype of a so-called China coin, a digital currency. I believe it's backed by the yuan.
It is.
And they are about to unleash their own network, similar to, what we're talking about here. Are we behind in that here in America? I mean, the Fed is a skeptic when it comes to cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
The president is a skeptic. You have a lot of people who still don't quite understand it. Singapore, which is considered a financial center of the world, very forward-thinking when it comes to technology. That central banker has expressed a little bit of concern.
Yeah. So let's first understand what stable coins are kind of central bank digital assets is kind of the way they're described. And so what the Chinese government is doing is that they are apparently going to launch a central bank digital asset. Let's go back to the thing I said about Starbucks earlier. What problem are we solving? So I look at the Fed today, and I'm sure there are bankers here in the window or in the audience. And if you want to go and call on the Fed for liquidity, you go to the Fed window. You don't get cash. You get digits in a ledger. And so when I'm JP Morgan and I go to the Fed's saying, okay, great, here's some sort of ledger change. It's already digitized. So I've actually been a little bit of a skeptic that central bank digital assets do much that we don't already do today.
So you don't think the dollar should be tokenized?
It already is. You think about it, how many people here, you look at your net worth statement on a bank account and those are just digits. Yes, you could go to the bank and get cash, but frankly, if you're asking for any more than a few $1,000s, you have to call in advance because they don't have the cash. So most of the US dollar is, quote, you said tokenized, I would say digitized. There is a little bit of a difference, but I think we always have to go back to what problem are we trying to solve. If we're solving a problem or creating customer value, then I think it's great. The only argument I have seen around central bank digital assets is if they want to expand the Fed window from serving a small number of regulated institutions to a mass audience. If everybody here could go directly to the Fed and have an account with the Fed, well, that's kind of interesting. Now we just put the entire commercial banking business out of business.
Look at that face. This is the best part of the video right there because they're speaking to a room of bankers. So it's food for thought. What's going to happen? Don't know, but it's interesting times. I mean, if we digitize the dollar by the Federal Reserve digitizing the dollar, what's going to happen? Do we even need banks? I mean, really, what can they do for us? If everything's digitized, who cares? And what's this going to do for the commercial banking sector? Time will tell. Time will tell. All right. And last up, KimDotcom says crypto's tiny 2% community needs to stop the bickering, and I couldn't agree more. So if you're not aware of KimDotcom, he was one of those guys that was with WikiLeaks, and he had to go into hiding, and he's got a really interesting story, this guy. And he's been in courts and battles and so on and so forth, but he was one of the first investors into Bitcoin, and he's going to explain why. So in this article, he says, Kim explains why he got into Bitcoin and what type of mindset the community needs to adopt to make crypto survive and thrive. He says, I got into Bitcoin when WikiLeaks was fighting this bank ban where no credit card companies and no bank would allow our donations to reach WikiLeaks, where they were basically completely shut out from any outside funding because some large financial corporations were forced by the government to make sure WikiLeaks would have no money. Sounds familiar. So obviously, WikiLeaks switched to crypto. And it worked out pretty well because they could just take on Bitcoin. They wouldn't have to deal with the banks. They can circumvent everything. And over time, they actually made a hell of a lot more money because they put everything into crypto. And that's good for them. He says, ever since then, I've been working in the background, doing my part to make sure that there will be more adoption of crypto, and now developing technology that I hope will bring the masses to crypto, because that's what we have to do. This is also why the crypto community has to play nice. We have to all work together. I don't like the disputes that are going on between the different solutions. We should all be coming together as a community. Right now, this community is only 2% of all internet users. Let that sink in. 2%. I'm going to tell you right now, everybody outside of this echo chamber that you're in, with these YouTube videos and Twitter accounts and everything else, thinks you're crazy. Your family thinks you're a little nuts. Your friends probably do because of what you got yourself into and are investing in. And that's okay, because as time is going to tell, we're going to come out and we're going to laugh ourselves all the way to the bank. But for right now, we need to come together because it looks a little goofy for all of us to be fighting like, oh man, XRP is the best. No, Bitcoin's the best. No, Dogecoin, your other stuff is just nonsense. It's just stupid. It's just dumb. What's good for one is good for all. When the water rushes into the harbor, all the boats rise. So get on board. Just stop taking all this energy into the negativity because it's just bringing everything else down. All right. And he goes on to say, the best way we can do that is to stop the bickering and fighting between each other and focus on the bigger picture. At the end of the day, really, it doesn't matter which crypto will take the crown in 10 years and be the number one. What should matter to everyone is that crypto as a whole becomes established in a mainstream solution because it's going to help all of us. It's going to help humanity. And that's why I care so much about crypto. So there was a quote. Let me bring it up. This is from Trace Mayer. If you're not familiar with Trace Mayer, he was one of the early OGs of Bitcoin. He invested back in 2011. I mean, almost out the gate. He's also doing this know your keys or protect your keys or something like that, where he's talking about getting all your digital assets off the exchanges. But this is what he states. Bitcoin supporter Trace Mayer argues that there may be a number of altcoins that can perform specific functions better than Bitcoin and will have a reason to exist and thrive. He states Bitcoin doesn't need to satisfy all the needs for all the people. Sometimes you want a knife, sometimes you want a fork, sometimes you want both. We just have to keep an open mind. And that's what I'm trying to say here. Just keep an open mind. In the comment section, the Bitcoin maximalists are the most passionate, we can say. And if anybody attacks them and talks about how the asset itself is old or it's going to go away or it's awful, not awful, just, it says, hey, your transaction speed's slow and you got problems with, doing payments. They're all over it. They're like, no, how dare you say that, blah, 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 blah. And if there's an XRP person talking about how great XRP is and saying, it's really fast and it does have utility and it's helping a lot of things, you Bitcoin maximalists are all over everybody. So here's the thing. There's room enough for more than one. You can't do everything. You're not the Swiss Army knife of cryptocurrency, okay? You're just not. You're not going to do smart contracts great. You're not going to do transactions great right now. I mean, maybe later, I don't know. And you just can't do everything. So just stop with the rhetoric and just get on board, right? XRP maximalists, same thing. Just calm down. Dogecoin maximalist, relax. I'm just kidding. There's no Dogecoin maximalist. That's what I see, and that's my plea for today. Anyhow, thanks for going through the rants. Thanks for sticking with me. I just had a huge headache, and I just not feeling the greatest, but there's a lot of stuff to go over. And then lastly, I will say this. The channel remains unmonetized, so if you come to the channel, you don't see any ads, you know why. Sometimes YouTube will throw an ad in the beginning, but that doesn't go to help support the channel in no way, shape, or form. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but it seems like the different problems that they had with like banning different YouTubers back in the holidays extends to my channel. I don't know why, just how it is. Anyhow, thanks for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.